So our second learning objective talks about what our key communication competencies are. So what are the things that you should ensure that you really do well to make sure that you're communicating properly with others. One of the things that we tend to miss is that a lot of our communication is nonverbal. Okay, so our body movements, our touch, our facial expressions, our eye contact are all very important, right? So you can show that you're interesting by having an open body posture, by talking in an exciting way, very showing that you're not really bored when other people are talking. Touch is sometimes very important if you're dealing with patients, touching their arms, being sure that you are attentive to them, looking at their eyes, all are very important. We also have to make sure that we are sensitive of other cultures. So, for example, looking others in the eye in some cultures is not considered appropriate, especially in Middle Eastern cultures. If you're in the Gulf, like Qatar and Saudi Arabia, it's not really very appropriate to look for a male to look at female directly in the eye. It's a sign of disrespect. Same thing even with handshaking. That's also not an acceptable form of touching in these culture. In some cultures, standing close to each other is considered okay and appropriate. In other cultures, you have to have more of a larger distance. In the United States, the distance tends to be larger than if you go to the Middle East and India or some other Eastern cultures. So we have to be really aware of our nonverbal communications. So even though this online lecture is not face-to-face, I try to ensure that in all my videos that you can see me in them, because part of the feedback that I've got in the past is people want to see my verbal expressions when I communicate these things. Active listening is also very important. Listening in communication is the cornerstone of a key or successful transfer and of information between parties. Before you respond to a person, you have to understand them. So if I'm a professor, which I am, obviously, I have to listen to students' questions actively, make sure that I understand what they're asking before I can respond. And the next slide, we'll talk about some strategies for that. There's also some non-defensive listening that we should understand. So the language that we use in communication can lead the other party to be very defensive. So using the word you and instead of say I or we creates kind of a very defensive, I would say, type of reaction from the person in front of you. So for example, you are late, you are lazy, you are always, using superlatives is also creates a defensive thing. So judging people like by their personalities instead of what they did. So for example, you submitted this 3 days late is acceptable, but saying you are always late or you're late is kind of insulting, because you're insulting who they are and not what they did, because who they are is something that they cannot change or difficult to change, but actions are not they're extension of who we are, but it's not a core insult to us when we judge people's actions. So let's take a look at listening styles and more on active listening. So listening is very important. You hopefully can have an active listening style where you're fully invested in listening to that other person. So if a student comes to me complaining about their exam, I'm sitting there, I'm have an open posture. I don't have my arms folded like this because this is more of a closed stance. It means that I don't want to listen. I understand and try to listen to what they're saying before making any judgments. I can repeat what they're saying. So, okay, so what I'm hearing from you, for example, is that you were not able to attend classes, let's say for the following reason. Okay, ask questions. Why weren't you able to attend the class? Was there anything that you faced during the semester that was an issue? Okay. Some people are partially invested, so they will listen, but they're not always paying attention. They might be doing something else. There's also a passive listening style. Well, you think it's the other person's responsibility to, communicate properly, and that you are just, there as passively. You can be doing some other work, not listening at all, and it's their job to really capture your attention. And finally, there's detached. You're not even interested in what people are saying. Hopefully, you are more on the active side, and that's difficult to maintain, I know, because it consumes more of your energy. But it is more effective if you want to be an effective communicator. So let's say, test our knowledge here. Susan attended her company's annual meeting, and where she was not very interested in the presentation and did not try to receive and decode the message. What is Susan's likely listening style? Is it active? A. B. Detached. C. Involved. D. Defensive. Or P. Or not P, I'm sorry. E. Passive. Okay. She is likely over here detached because she is not interested at all in the presentation and does not even put any effort to try to understand the message that's in the presentation.